everyone, I will be discussing Marxist criminology perspective and how it relates to capitalism and crime. So the Marxist criminology perspective argues that crime and criminal justice systems are hand in hand with economic inequality and power. So I believe that a way economic inequality can influence criminal behavior is when there is someone who has a low income, they can't provide and they can't live in a sustainable manner. So they will commit theft or robbery, but they're doing it to survive. Not just for pettiness, but to survive usually. But when you get higher up in income, people will commit white-collar crimes and fraudulent crimes because they believe they just want a little more money. So power differences also comes into this. People who have a lot of power and access to money, who they live very comfortably, they're very lavish, but they want more money, they can steal from, for example, some people don't. They have their own company and they will start taking money from the company and having it for themselves. So that is considered a white-collar crime because it's a high amount of money being stolen, but in a very secretive and low manner. So they think that they have all this power so they can do it because they won't get in trouble, but they actually will. I believe capitalism affects those who commit crimes because if you have no money, you're trying to survive. You're just committing crime to survive. But if you want more money, but you already have a lot of money, but you want more, you're committing it just to commit it, not to survive, but just to commit it because you want a little more money. Whenever capitalism comes to people who are being labeled, people who commit crimes and are very high in power, or well-known people, they usually will they'll be labeled a criminal, but people won't take it serious. They'll just be like, oh, they have a criminal background, but they're not a criminal. They just did it because of so-and-so reason. When it's someone from a lower class, they're just labeled. They're a criminal. They belong in jail. They're in public and they're a criminal, but when it comes to power dynamics, it is way different. But a way that power dynamics actually influences crime and criminal justice, I believe that when there's someone with a lot of power, they can get away with committing things and everyone will look the other way, so they can kind of corrupt and heavily influence this, the criminal justice system, because they have so much power. But yeah, power is a very big thing when it comes to people being able to commit crimes. For example, many business owners, they will commit white-collar crimes, for example, and everyone will just turn a blind eye and just be like, oh, he was doing it for so-and-so thing. But yeah, that is another big thing. And a way that laws are enforced when it comes to capitalism and crime and all that. So if someone has a lot of power, they usually won't have law be enforced on them because the authorities or the law in the area or around the US will really just be like, oh, they'll turn a blind eye and they won't think anything of it. But when it comes to people who don't have a lot of power and they don't have a lot of money, they're just gonna have the law heavily enforced on them. But if you have money and power, it's easy to get away with it, I guess. But yeah, that's what I think. Thank you so much.